Welcome to yet another video on SRID Cloud. In this video, I want to talk about how to deploy VMs using Terraform in a Libvirt or KVM environment on Linux. Let's get started. In this environment, I have the virtualization turned on from hardware perspective, and I can execute some commands like lscpu or look at the proc info to figure out if the virtualization is properly implemented. So let me do that. So the first command I'm going to execute is to examine this proc CPU info. And I see 4 processors are available. And the next step I'm going to do is execute some lscpu commands. And virtualization is turned on. And now I'm going to install the Libvirt on this system. So let me do that with this command. So this will install the virtualization libraries that are needed to run virtual machines. So let's see what happens. So once this step is completed, I should be able to start and enable the libvirt service. So I will do sudo systemctl enable now libvirt. So it's up and running. So now let me install some additional virtualization tools. First of all, let me do this. This is to make sure the virsh command is available in this environment. And I think it should already be there. Let's see. And then I want to install this one as well. I think it's also already available, but I need to install these. And now let me run this program to make sure everything is okay. So here it is. Let me maximize this a little bit. Okay. So this is a very good sign that everything that is needed in this virtualization environment, the Libvirt, is all healthy. And now if I run virsh command, it should work. So now I want to download the Terraform from this location. So here is a command that I use to download the Terraform zip file. And it will download. And then let me unzip it. And it creates the Terraform file. This is an executable file. And this Terraform executable should be in the path. So let me echo path, and I'm going to put it in user local sbin. So cp terraform user local sbin. That's already there, I think. But anyway, so that's where I copy the file. And then let me create a directory called example and then do all my stuff in it. So if I run Terraform version, I should be able to see the latest version. So this is the latest Terraform version at the time of preparing this video. So when you do it, it could be something else. So now the next step is to proceed to downloading the Terraform Libvirt provider and then deploy VM and all those things. So now to download and install the Libvirt driver of Terraform, I'm going to do this. In the home directory, I will create this directory path .local share Terraform and plugins, and then I will get inside that directory structure. So in this directory structure, I'm going to create additional directory structure mkdir registry.terraform.io, and this directory path will help me to identify the libvirt driver for Terraform in the Terraform files. So under this, I'm going to create a directory called dm ac vicar, and under this I'm going to create a directory called libvirt, and under this I'm going to create a directory called 0.6.2, and I'm going to create another directory called Linux AMD 64. That is my architecture, and then cd into that. So this is where I am at this point. Okay, now I'm going to download the libvirt provider for Terraform using this command. So this is the latest libvirt provider for Terraform available. So I'm using the wget command to download it. If you can Google it and find out, you can use that URL as well, because at the time of preparing this video, this is the latest driver. So it could be different when you try it. So you got the file, and now I'm going to unzip this file using the tar -xvzf Terraform. So it got this Terraform provider libvirt. Now let me remove the gc file. I don't need that anymore. So I have this provider available in the directory. So now I'm going to start preparing Terraform files to deploy a VM. So let me go and create a directory called example. Under this example directory, I need to initialize the Terraform environment. So to do that, I say Terraform init. So the Terraform got initialized in this temporary empty directory. So now I have to start writing the Terraform files. The first file that I will write is the main.tf. So let me write that first. So in this file, at the very beginning, I need to provide the Terraform libvirt provider information. So here is the initializer information. There we go. So this says the Terraform provider is dmacvicar libvirt, and the version is 0.62. This is exactly what we downloaded a moment ago. Now let's go and create some variables. So here are the variables, and let me go through them one at a time. This variable VM_count is the number of VMs we are going to deploy. We're going to deploy 3 VMs. To keep things simple, I can make it as 1, or you can put whatever number that you want, the number of VMs that you want to create. And when a VM is created, I want to create a user called developer init, and here is the name of the VM that I would like to deploy. VM, this will be the prefix of the VM created. And to create a VM, I need a image file, and in this example I'm going to use Ubuntu 18.04, and here is the URL for that, and here is the variable that defines that URL. And this image is in qcow2 format, so this is the variable for that. And inside the VM, I would like to define a network interface under this CIDR, the 10.10.10.10.24. That means the VM IP address will be 10.10.10.1 or 2 or 3, whatever. So these are the variables that I need, and I will be referencing to these in the rest of the scripts. Now the next step is to define the hypervisor provider, that is Libvirt in this case, and you have to specify that information to Terraform with this. Remember, we already used the QEMU://system while working on VIRSH earlier. So that is the URL that you need to provide. And then you have to proceed to define some data points. When we deploy VM, we want to use Cloud Init technology. The Cloud Init is the technology used to define custom actions when the VM starts for the first time after it is deployed. And also we would like to define networking characteristics inside this VM. So those are the 2 points, data points, that we would like to define now in this main.tf file. And here they are. The first one is reference to Cloud Init CFG file, which we will write in a moment right after completing this file. And also the networking characteristics are defined in a file called network_config.cfg, which also we are going to write in a moment after this, after completing this file. So now it's time to define some resources. The first resource we would like to define is the pool, and this is the Libvirt pool that will be used to house the virtual machine boot volumes and the Cloud Init ISO files and so on. So that is defined with this statement. The Libvirt_pool is the type of the resource we are creating for VM, and the pool name is the VM name_pool, and then this is the directory where the pool will be artifacts will be created. So now the next step is to define the volume, the boot volume characteristic, and that is also defined as a resource. So we are going to define only one, or VM count, variable based number of volumes, and the volume name will be defined in this pattern, and the volume will be created under the Libvirt pool that we defined earlier at the very top. And here is the source of the volume, which we already defined, the VM image URL variable, and its format will be qcow2, which is once again not hard coded but defined as a variable earlier. So the next step is to define the public network for this VM, that is also defined as a resource, and that is done with this statement. So here is the network name. The VM name_network is the name of the network, and it will be based on NAT, in the network address translation, so that this VM will have access to the internet or the public network through the host immediately without any user intervention. And the domain, the name of the VM, will be the name of the VM.local, and the address will be defined by the VM CIDR range variable, which we defined earlier. and DHCP and DNS will both be enabled for this network inside the VM. Now let's define the cloud init resource. And remember, we are yet to write the configuration file for both network and cloud init, which we will do in a moment, but let's complete this activity for now. So here is the ISO file name. The vm_cloudinit.iso will be the name of the ISO file that will be downloaded and created by Terraform provider. And these are the other characteristics needed for the cloud init resource. And finally, we are going to write the resource for the VM which we are going to create. And it's a bit lengthy, so let me bring that file here. So here it is. So the Libvirt domain VM, that is the resource which we are going to create. There will be only one vCPU in this VM, but you can modify it and put as many number as possible. And the VM will have 1 GB of memory, and its name will be the VM host name, which is VM hyphen the index. We are going to create only one VM, so the VM name will be VM hyphen 0. And we are going to define only one VM. And here is the cloud init reference, and here is the network interface reference, and other characteristics of this VM, the console and the boot volume and the graphics and other useful information. Now let's write the cloud init configuration file. And I will be writing this file. I'm going to call it as cloud_init.cfg, and in this file I'm going to define the cloud init characteristics. So here they are. At the very beginning, or the user information, I'm going to copy and paste my the public key from SSH. So now I need a SSH key. For that, let me go and create one, because I do not have one in this new system, because there is no such directory at all. So let me do SSH key gen. So I created a simple SSH key, and in this directory I should see the public key. So let me copy this id rsa.pub file to clipboard. And I'm going to paste it here. So what this means is when I deploy my VM, I should be able to log in to the VM without the password. I should be able to do that, because the cloud init will carry this SSH key, and the Terraform Libvirt provider will ensure that this key is inserted inside the VM, and I don't have to key in a password to enter when I do SSH client into this VM. And all other characteristics are self-explanatory. These are the packages that will be automatically installed inside the VM. If you want, you can add additional packages, and these commands will be executed inside the VM as well. If you want to execute additional commands automatically when the VM is deployed and started for the first time, you can do all those here. So now we have the cloud init configuration done. The next thing is we need to define the network configuration. So let's do that next. I will create a file called network config.cfg. And I will place these entries in it. Very simple. A network port or network adapter called ENS3 will be created with the DHCP turned on. So I'm all set. I have all three files available. Now I need to use Terraform to deploy this VM or this configuration. So now let me run the Terraform init again to make sure the plugins are all initialized. And when I do that, it initializes the provider that we just installed, the Terraform and Libvirt provider, and it is successfully initialized. So now it's time to create the VM with Terraform apply. And I'm going to say yes, and the VM will be created along with the other artifacts like network or the boot volume and cloud init and all that. So let's wait for it to complete. Depending on the number of VMs you want and the number of boot volumes or the data disks that you want to create, it's going to take a while. But anyway, this is only one VM and it got created. So now let me do vir sh list, and the VM is up and running. Minus all. So now, as I said earlier, I should be able to SSH inside this VM without the password, with the developer as the user ID. But before that, I need the IP address of this VM. So how do I get that information? I will use this vir sh command to get the IP address, and that is, so net DHCP leases will give me the list of IP addresses on this VM, with the VM network being the network we created through the network configuration file. So there it is. The IP address is 10.10.10.239, and I should be able to enter inside this VM without the password because I changed the SSH key, public key. So SSH developer at this IP address. I'm going to say yes, and I'm inside the VM, and this is Ubuntu VM. So this is how you create the VM using Terraform, and I hope this video will help you to get started. This is bare minimum of what you have to know to deploy a VM in a Libvirt environment using Terraform, and this will also give you an idea on how the Terraform is used by through a Libvirt provider or any provider to deploy VMs. So now finally, what if you want to clean up? What if you want to delete this VM and also the associated other artifacts that you created, like VM pool, network configuration, cloud init configuration, and so on. So to do that, you just execute terraform destroy, and it's going to prompt you, and you say yes, and it will go and do all the cleaning ups automatically for you. Done. So now if you do vir sh list, you will not be able to see the VM. It's gone. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be making a lot more videos in the near future on various other topics. And have a wonderful day or a wonderful evening, and bye for now.